Ladies and gentlemen, when Democrats are in the Oval Office, anything that takes place in government must be revered. It doesn't matter if a person like Peter Strzok states, "We'll stop Trump," like we'll stop it, when he texts his wonderful and amazing friend, and she says to him, he's not going to become president, right? And he says, no, we'll stop it. That exchange between two high-level officials within the Federal Bureau of Investigation, that exchange in any other time in U.S. history, would have shown not just immense bias, it would have proven that something unlawful was taking place. Okay, in this day and age, you cannot prove that anti-Trump text messages, not just that one, I'm talking about endless, between a whole bunch of agents that were investigating Trump and that covered up the crimes of his direct political rival. Because there were two investigations, one that actually had criminal statutes associated with the investigation, which is Madam Secretary's servers with top secret intelligence on them, that we still don't know how Madam Secretary was able to get that top secret intelligence on servers. Okay, well, Comey, I guess, didn't ask, or Strzok didn't. And then there was an investigation predicated upon a Steele dossier that was literally purchased by Trump's direct political rivals, the DNC and Clinton. But now you have, so all of this, the origins of this contempt and vitriol against Trump, really, they aren't just from his personality. A big part of it is they can't stand his personality. But they're also from the fact that he fights back. He doesn't let them claim without evidence for 4 year that he could have worked with Russia or that he did work with Russia. The notion that he could have worked with Russia is absurd. The notion that people believe, like gospel, that Russia hacked the DNC to interfere in the election, to show that Debbie Wasserman Schultz cheated Bernie Sanders, and then if you call them on it, they say, well, Madam Secretary won fair and square. Well, which one is it? Why on earth did Putin hack the DNC? Why? What was the point? Did those emails lead to Debbie Wasserman Schultz resigning in disgrace? And if so, why? But this is too difficult for them. They just think in terms of, what's the public relations spin of the day? We'll focus on that. But here, what's the backstory? Why am I prefacing this? Barr may try to spin his investigation before the election. Don't believe him. This is the Washington Post. The Politico just called him Trump's fixer. It's official. He's Trump's fixer. Well, wait a second. The Democrats and media have a very difficult time. Imagining if the shoe were on the other foot, if the tables were turned. What if William Barr met up with Ivanka Trump on a plane to speak about golf, Brexit, and grandchildren right before the Mueller report came out? Bill Clinton met with Attorney General Loretta Lynch on a tarmac a couple of days before Clinton was interviewed by Peter Strzok. It was supposed to be an interrogation, but it was probably brunch and tea and nice dessert and whatever. But what if William Barr and Ivanka Trump met just like Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton met? How do you think they would react? How do you think they would react if Trump purchased a dossier with the RNC's money and help and guidance? How do you think they'd react if a Republican administration set up and framed a person like Papadopoulos with an ambassador linked to one of Trump's organizations? So they haven't flipped the script at all. They haven't. So the important thing here is that when you look at how they're trying to disparage President William Barr and President Trump and everyone in the United States government that's within his administration that is loyal to him, imagine what would happen if somebody was not loyal or disloyal to President Obama or Bush. Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld were notorious. There was Valerie Plame is an example. Okay, they were notorious at trying to harm and hurt anyone who wasn't on board. And Valerie Plame had a legitimate grievance. We can go on forever. Okay? But the notion that Trump demands loyalty and that he's up to no good, this is all media hype and spin and public relations. And it's projection. They're the ones who presided over. President Obama could have vetoed the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity. Why didn't he? You could build the most destructive weapon known to man with that commodity. Why didn't he? If it's processed differently, if it becomes yellow cake. So then why didn't he? Okay, why is this important? Why am I going through all of this? Barr may try to spin his investigation before the election. Don't believe him. This is the Attorney General has previously mischaracterized the government report ahead of time. How do they know? This is August 1st, 2020. One of William P. Barr's weaknesses is a godsend. It's a godsend for the rule of law. The Attorney General is not completely effective at lying. What? Or at least close observers of Barr have learned over time how to spot his many tricks. Barr's behavior in his prior career in government and current office reveals voluminous and specific examples in which he misled the public and Congress. See, don't notice how they say not examples of perjury. Examples where he misled, because Barr tells them things that they don't want to hear. And then, so instead of saying, well, we can get you on perjury, they say, well, you misled us. He misled the Mueller report. He misled people on the Mueller report because it was really bad for Trump. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Nobody was indicted on anything to do with Trump conspiring with Russia. That's why Durham exists. But here, you go, Barr's deception is Congress testimony on Tuesday. And there's every reason to suspect Barr will soon try again to mislead. So he deceived people in Congress because, Roger Stone and Michael Flynn. And, if you undo anything that Democrats, so if Robert Mueller, part of the executive branch, mind you, indicts anyone and you dare try to commute the sentence or drop the case, then you are just, taking a giant dump on the U.S. government and our history and the Constitution and everything. But it's government that is, it's government in William Barr and John Durham that is trying to erase the sins of certain government officials, either predecessors or the misconduct or possible illegal activity of other government officials. Notice the game that Democrats play. They they revere government and protocol when it suits them. When it doesn't suit them, government's no good. So they go back and forth, but based on Barr's track record, it's important for the public to realize now that they can't take Barr's word on what Durham actually has found. What? What? So you're projecting now. This is like a person who is so guilty. They're basically saying, well, but Durham's going to find a lot, but you know what? Don't believe it. The urgency of bracing people to disbelieve the Attorney General increased dramatically on Tuesday. What? As Barr was asked whether he'd apply longstanding Justice Department policy not to announce politically sensitive new cases before an election by holding Durham's findings until November 3rd, Barr's answer for him, a rarity in its clarity, he said no. So Durham's investigation, I don't think, is going to end before November 3rd, but if it ends November 3rd, prior to November 3rd, without any indictments, then it's a complete, then it's definitely not a success. However, if it sets the groundwork for indicting people who literally tried to take down and oust President Trump, a duly elected president, based on a dossier literally purchased by his direct political rival, if Durham's investigation eventually leads in Trump's second term, because President Trump is going to defeat Hillary Clinton, eventually she'll become nominee. Whether it's not at the nomination, something's going to happen where Madam Secretary is going to be there debating President Trump, because there's now like this little mini revolt within the DNC, so they might push back any plans for Madam Secretary to get the nomination. They might have Biden just give the nomination somehow, or transfer the nomination somehow, or Clinton could be there, which is what I've been saying, but I didn't realize there'd be this little mini revolt in the DNC that's going on right now. I don't know if you're interested in it, but so it's either going to be at the convention or after the convention, but Hillary Clinton's going to be on that ballot. She'll be facing President Trump in the debates. But they're petrified of the Durham probe. They're absolutely petrified of the Durham probe. Durham's investigation has become Barr's pet project. Durham's main task is an investigation of the investigators who tried to understand and protect the United States against Russian election interference. The interference had already taken place. So the only thing they did was indict 8 intelligence officials in Russia based on CrowdStrike's assessment, Company 1. No, Putin doesn't care. Putin is not afraid of the United States. He wasn't afraid of the United States when he invaded Georgia under Bush. He wasn't afraid of the United States when he invaded Ukraine under President Obama. He's not afraid of the United States now. He's just not afraid of the United States. We already had 50 years of a Cold War. This is done. The Democrats are not the new Cold Warriors. They like to think of themselves as such, but they're completely delusional. They're the ones who, when you have Uranium One giving tens of millions into the Clinton Foundation, and then miraculously President Obama does not veto the sale of 20% of U.S. uranium capacity, President Trump was impeached on that type of evidence. That's circumstantial evidence. He was impeached on circumstantial evidence. Okay? Circumstantial evidence should have... If you utilize circumstantial evidence, they should have had a special counsel on the uranium sale, on the $10 billion to Haiti, on UBS, Boeing. Peter Schweitzer's book, Clinton Cash, is all about a litany of overt pay-to-play schemes that are all based on hilarious circumstantial evidence, like money flowed in, and then a beneficial treatment takes place for the people who gave money into the Clinton Foundation. But Democrats say you can't prove anything. There's no, that's all circumstance. Correlation does not equal causation. With Trump, it does. With them, it doesn't. There's no direct evidence that Trump withheld military assistance because he was afraid of Biden. To the contrary, Biden himself stated, if you don't terminate this government employee of yours, a prosecutor looking into a company that my son was in, board of directors of, you don't get $1 billion. Who gave Biden the authority to withhold $1 billion in loan guarantees? Did President Obama know of this? Who gave him the authority? And then you had like a panel of academics who don't like Trump. And then you had one person, the amazing attorney who was protecting or defending President Trump. So, again, and then you had people coming out of the U.S. government. Oh yeah, I think what he did was wrong. Well, who cares what you think? Do you have any evidence of criminal activity? See, that's what is actually like somebody blowing the whistle. But anyway, to cut a long story short, they're basically trying to disparage. Barr has a history of mischaracterizing and even lying about the results of investigations. No, he doesn't. That's what Barr did to Special Counsel Robert Mueller III's investigation. No, he didn't. He didn't distort or mislead anything. Nobody was indicted or charged with anything to do with conspiring with Russia. That's a fact. That's what the entire investigation was about, trying to find. They had no evidence to begin with. They started the investigation on Comey's memos and we were supposed to trust Comey on his interactions with Trump, and a dossier, and a Papadopoulos meeting, and a high to moderate confidence assessment of Clapper and Brennan and Comey, all their intelligence. Nobody had any direct evidence of anything. And this was even before the Mueller investigation started. There was no direct evidence of anything. So, I mean, if that's the standard, where are all the special counsels to investigate Clinton's email servers with top secret intel? It wasn't just coincidence that a government official known for secrecy is using a private servers. But you wouldn't allow that with Trump. See, the thing is, they're so consumed with arrogance and narcissism. They just think that they can get away with anything, and they can accuse Trump of exactly what they're guilty of doing, which is getting away with everything. So everything here is scrutinized, but apparently Barr is set to release the Durham investigation before November 3rd, which will be hilarious. Long-standing policy. Who cares about a policy? Is not a law. Who cares? Long-standing Justice Department policy, not to announce. Oh, I love the Justice Department policy of telling Comey to call it a matter. That's according to James Comey. So is he lying? Very likely. But Attorney General Loretta Lynch, who met with Bill Clinton, is that also long-standing policy? I want to know. Can Democrats ever defend anything they say? Is that long-standing policy to meet with the husband of the suspect, the target of a criminal investigation, the subject of a criminal investigation? So is it long-standing policy for the Attorney General Loretta Lynch to meet with Bill Clinton secretively? Is it long-standing policy to tell the FBI director to call it a matter and not a criminal probe? Which correlates to exactly what the Clinton campaign was trying to say. Anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hillary Clinton's going to be on that ballot. Okay? I'm telling you, this whole thing is a charade. I will have made the biggest political call of all time, but apparently they're petrified that he's going to announce the Durham probe investigation findings before November 3rd. Give me your thoughts below. Politically sensitive cases before election by holding Durham's final findings until after November 3rd. Barr's answer was for him a rarity in its clarity. He said no. Love it. Subscribe to H.A. Goodman's other channel right now. And if you want to support my voice long term, your support is greatly appreciated. My Patreon is below. Thank you very, very